Welcome back. We're leaving Croatia's world-famous Dalmatian coast and driving deep into its less explored interior to see the Plitvice Lakes National Park, one of Europe's most spectacular natural wonders. The UNESCO World Heritage Site listed national park covers 300 square kilometers of forests, meadows, caves, plus 16 lakes, interconnected with 90 waterfalls that flow through a river. It's just too big to see everything, but there's a trail you can hike through that takes you to all the main highlights in half a day. With local guide Maria Miljanovic, we start at the viewpoint overlooking the lower lakes and the Great Falls. It's a majestic scene, the point where the waters from the falls, the lake, and river converge. It's Maria's favorite spot, and apparently this couple behind us too.
I think they agree beside us. It's a lovely spot.
Yes, you see, everybody enjoying
very romantic
this spot.
spot.
Yes, and very peaceful one.
In fact, the entire park is. So it's not enough to take that selfie from a distance and leave. The dirt paths and footbridges that wind through the cascading lakes and waterfalls of Plitvice allow you to come even closer to look, to listen, and touch nature. So close at some points, you can see right through the crystal clear water. But there's more to the UNESCO World Heritage listing than the obvious beauty of the park. Plitvice is a natural world evolving right before your eyes. Every year the rock formations are growing, the lake's shape is changing, and the water levels rising. Spring and fall are the best times to visit. In summer, the water levels are lower and less dramatic. The heat is unbearable, and there's simply too many tourists. Our tour ends with a boat ride on this calm, crystalline lake, surrounded by a forest where wild animals, like bears, still wander to this day.
The park is everything UNESCO said it was. In fact, even a bit more, because every year the landscape is shifting and the water is rising. However, you'll have to set aside an extra day just to visit the park. But if you're really into nature, yes, it's worth a visit.
This part of Croatia was once a war-torn part of the country, but save for a few reminders of the carnage along the way, it's a pleasant drive to Zagreb, up the modern highway. An EU member since 2013, Croatia is a top tourist destination in the Balkans, and Zagreb, the wealthiest city among the former Yugoslav republics.
I've only been here a few hours and I'm already in love with Zagreb. Unfortunately, I only have one day, so I'm meeting with a guide here to show me around. Now, we're meeting at his favorite coffee shop in the city. It's also one of the oldest in Zagreb. This is a really nice cafe. There are a lot of cafes in Zagreb and a strong cafe culture, right?
Yes, that's right. This is actually the biggest and the oldest coffee house in Zagreb. It's called Johann Frank.
Cafe culture is huge in Zagreb, a reminder of the Italian and especially the Austrian influence in the Slavic city.
How would you describe the vibe, the atmosphere of Zagreb? Why it's different from the other cities in Croatia?
Zagreb, I'm very partial because I'm absolutely in love with the city. I've moved here 12 years ago and I love everything about Zagreb. Our country has lots of Mediterranean influences because our coast is very long and wide. We have over 1,000 islands, and on the other hand we were under Austrian rule for such a long time. So we get lots of these Central European influences. That's what makes Zagreb very special.
Indeed, it's easy to compare Zagreb with Prague or Budapest. All were once under Austria and Roman Catholic. Our walk through the upper town, the historic center, starts at the Capitol, the square where the grand 11th century Gothic cathedral dedicated to the Assumption of Mary dominates. The soaring Twin Towers is the tallest structure in the country and looms large over the city, physically and politically. In the multi-ethnic former Yugoslavia, the Croatian national identity was largely defined by being Catholic. In fact, most of the important landmarks you come across in the medieval streets of the upper town are religious in nature. The Stone Gate, where a portrait of Mary miraculously survived the big fire, is a holy shrine today. On weekends, mounted guards in historical uniform stand watch by the Stone Gate, the entrance to St. Mark's Square. They're part of the grand changing of the guard which takes place in the streets around another religious come national landmark, the 13th century St. Mark's Church. Again, politics and religion combine. On the tiled roof, the coat of arms of Dalmatia, Slavonia, and the capital of Croatia. This hill in the oldest part of Zagreb is where most tourist spots are found, like the old City Hall, with its homage to Tesla, a proud son of Croatia. The Museum of Broken Relationships, where modern artifacts of unrequited love and other disappointments of the soul are kept. And the 13th century Lotstrak Tower, where every day a cannon greets 12 noon with a thundering boom. But Zagreb provides much more than quaint attractions for tourists. Locals relish the quality of life in this eminently livable city. Zagreb is a thoroughly modern capital, but one that never seems to be in a hurry. At the Flower Square in the lower town, residents bask in the city's legendary cafe scene. The square is like an outdoor salon, with sweeping views of the Habsburgs' architectural legacy and Art Nouveau structures built at the turn of the 20th century. The Octagon Passageway connects to Ilika, the main shopping street, and further along to Zagreb's main square, named after the Croat general Ban Josip Jelačić. The massive square with its iconic statue and grand facades is where our tour ends. On the surface, and from this point of view, Zagreb is easy to mistake for any Central European city. But dwell a bit longer, observe the city closer, and soon you'll recognize the capital's unmistakable Balkan character. And that's all for the third part of our series on the Balkans. On our next episode of Executive Class, we'll conclude the final leg of our journey in Slovenia. Until then, I'm David Celdran. Thanks for watching.